Today we're going to be doing a brief review of some of the concepts that you should know from financial maths from grade 8. Let's start off by looking at profit, loss, discount, and VAT. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the cost price, which is CP. The cost price is the amount that a seller paid for an item to start off with. It's the amount that this item cost the seller in the first place, either to purchase or to create. Okay. Then we have the markup. The markup is the amount that the seller adds to the cost price so that they can actually make some money. The markup is calculated as a percentage of the cost price. The marked price, or the MP, is calculated by taking the cost price and adding the markup, whatever that markup was. Okay. Then if there's a discount, it is worked out as a percentage of the marked price, and it is then subtracted to give us what we call the selling price. The selling price is what the person who's buying the item is going to be charged. Okay, so the selling price, we work out by taking the marked price and subtracting the discount. If there is no discount, then it means that the selling price and the marked price will be equal to each other. They're the same. Okay. When a seller makes a profit, it means that the selling price is greater than the cost price. They're selling it for more than what it cost them in the first place. So we work out the profit by taking the selling price and subtracting the cost price. However, if they don't manage to sell it for more than what it cost them, then if the selling price is less than the cost price, it means that they have made a loss. And we work out the loss by saying the cost price minus the selling price. Right, then we've got VAT. Now VAT is tax that is added to the selling price. In South Africa, VAT is calculated as 15% of the selling price. And then when we want to work out how much an item is going to cost, including VAT, we're going to take the selling price and add the VAT. We can also work it out by saying the selling price is 100% and the VAT is 15%, so we're going to have 115% altogether of the selling price, and that gives us the price including the VAT. Okay. Now let's have a look at an example where we're going to be doing some of this stuff. Okay, so first of all, a product is being sold for 110 Rand 50. If the markup was 70%, we need to calculate the cost price of the product. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at how we would actually start this question. So over here, I'm going to take the 110 Rand 50. That is the cost, or that's the amount that this product is being sold for. Now, when you're wanting to work with amounts that are being affected by percentages, if you are just working out a percentage of an amount, then you're going to take that amount and multiply it by the percentage. Which the easiest way to do it is to write the percentage as a decimal fraction. However, if you are trying to work out what an amount was before it was changed by a percentage, so in this case, the product is being sold for 110 Rand 50. That's the selling price. They tell us that the markup was 70%, and we need to work out what the cost was, or what the cost price was, which was the amount before the 70% was added. So we want to work out the amount before the percentage change happened. Then the easiest way to do it is to look at it and say, divide by what we have and multiply by what we want. So in this case over here, what we have is the selling price. Now the selling price is obtained by taking the cost price and adding the markup. Okay, so the cost price is going to always be 100%. That'll be your total amount, and then your markup is a percentage of that. So the amount that we've got over here, the selling price, is going to be 100% plus the cost price, or plus the markup, which is 70%. So over here, this 110 Rand 50 is actually 170% of what the cost price was. Okay, so we're going to take this, we're going to divide by what we have. We have the 170%. It is the cost price plus the markup. This is the cost price, this is the markup, and this is the selling price, or the marked price. In this case, they're the same because there is no discount. Okay, so the selling price and the marked price are the same as each other. So over here, I have got the selling price, which is 170%. So I'm going to divide by 170. And then what I want to work out is the cost price, which is 100%. So I'm going to multiply by 100. So I divide by what I have, and I multiply by what I want. So in this case, I'm dividing by 170 and then multiplying by 100. So if I take this, 110, 50, divide by 170 and multiply by 100, that's going to give me 65. So that means that the cost price, this is 65. That means that the cost price of this product was 65 Rand. So that's how much it cost the seller to get it in the first place. Okay, so that's the first question. All right, the next question over here, a product that normally costs 150 Rand has been discounted by 30%. How much will a customer need to pay for it now? Okay, so just like in the last one, we have an amount that is being affected by a percentage, okay? But this time, we've been given the amount before the percentage change. We've been told what the normal amount is, and we have to work out what the customer is going to pay after the discount has been applied. So now what we're going to do is we need to work out the selling price where we have the normal marked price, okay? And we know that it's going to be reduced by 30%. Now there are two ways of doing this question. Okay, so first of all, what I can do is I can work out what the discount is. So I can say the discount is 30% of the marked price, of the normal price. So it's 150. And to work out 30%, I'm just going to multiply by 0.3, which is the same as 30% written as a decimal value. It's a decimal fraction. Okay, so 150 multiplied by 0.3. So 150 times 0.3, that gives me 45. So that means that the discount is 45 Rand. So that's how much the customer is going to save. So now what we need to do is we need to work out how much they're actually going to have to pay. Okay, so we know how much they're going to save. Now we need to work out how much they're going to pay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the normal price and I'm going to subtract the discount. So it's going to be 150 minus 45, and that gives us 105 Rand. So that's how much the customer is going to pay. So this is one way of doing it. We can do it in two parts. We will work out what the discount is and subtract it from the marked price to get the selling price. The other way of doing it is to go straight there by saying, I'm going to work out the selling price. So this is the selling price over here. I'm going to work out the selling price by saying, well, if they are saving 30%, then how much are they going to be paying of the total amount? If the total amount is 100%, then if they save 30%, then that means that they're going to be paying the rest of it, which is 70%, because 30 and 70 makes 100. So they're going to be paying 70%. So what I want to work out is 70% of the normal amount. So I'm going to take that 150 and I'm going to multiply it by 70%, which is 0.7 if I write it as a decimal fraction. Okay, so 150 times 0.7. And that gives me 105, which is the exact same answer that I got when I did it this way over here. So it's 105 Rand. 105 Rand. Okay. So you can do it in two ways. You can either work out the discount and then subtract it from the cost price or the marked price, or you can work it out straight away by using the percentage that is the difference between the normal percentage and the discount, which is what they still have to pay. So it's 70% that they still have to pay because they're not paying 30% of the total amount. Okay, so now you're going to do some for yourself. The first question you're going to do for yourself is this one over here. Okay, so in this question, it says you pay 529 Rand for a new pair of shoes. How much of this amount went to VAT? So remember, VAT in South Africa is calculated as 15% of the selling price. Now the amount that you pay is the amount including VAT. So you need to take that into consideration. What you are doing is you wanting to work out how much of the 529 Rand was VAT. Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute to work on this question. Okay, so let's go through that question quickly. So in this question over here, you're starting with 529, but that 529 is the amount after the percentage change happened, okay? Because you had the selling price, and then we added on 15% of that selling price to get the price that includes the VAT. Now, what we're going to do is we need to get back to what the selling price, or in this case, we're trying to work out what the VAT is. Now, there are two ways of doing this again. So I can work out what the selling price is and then subtract to get the VAT, or I can work out the VAT straight away, okay? So what I'm going to do is, either way, I need to take this 529, I need to divide it by 115, because this is what I have. Remember, we divide by what we have and we multiply by what we want. We're doing it this way because here I'm working with the amount after the percentage change happened. So the 529 is the amount after the 15% was added on. Okay, so I want to work out what happened, what the amounts were before the 15% was added on. So I've got the amount after. So that's why I'm doing it this way. I divide by what I have, which is 115%, because that is the 100%, which is the cost price, or the selling price, sorry, plus the 15%, which is the VAT. Okay, so that's where this 115% comes from. So I'm dividing by 115 because this is the price including VAT. So it's both of those together. Then I'm going to multiply by what I want. Now, if I wanted to know how much it would have cost without VAT, I would multiply by 100. Okay, so that would be the price excluding VAT. But because I want to know how much the VAT was, now the VAT is 15%. So I'm going to say I divide by what I have, then I multiply by what I want. But what I want here is the VAT, which is 15. So I'm going to multiply by 15. So 529 divided by 115 times 15. That will give you 69 Rand. So the total amount that went to the government over here in the form of VAT for this sale was 69 Rand. Okay. Now, like I said, you could do this two ways. You could have taken the 529 divided by 115 and then multiplied by 100. That would give you the price excluding VAT. And then you would subtract 529 and that amount, and that would give you the 69 Rand. So there are two ways of doing it, but you can go straight to the answer by dividing by what you have and multiplying by what you want, which is the VAT, which is 15%. Okay, so now let's go on to question B. In question B, it says if the cost price of a chair was 600 Rand and it has been marked up by 20%, what is the selling price? Okay, so I'm going to give you 30 seconds to work on this question. Okay, so let's go through that question and see what you should have got. So with this question, once again, there's more than one way of doing it. You can work out what the markup was and then add it to the cost price to find out what the selling price is, or you can work out the selling price straight away. So I'll show you both ways. So first of all, to work out the markup, we're going to be working out 20% of the cost price. So to work that out, we're going to take the cost price, which is 600, and multiply it by 0.2 for the 20%. Okay, so 600 times 0.2, that gives us 120 Rand. So the markup is 120 Rand. So that's how much the seller is adding on to the cost price, so they'll be able to make some money out of the sale. Okay, so then the selling price we're going to work out by adding this to the cost price. So it's 600 plus 120, which gives us 720 Rand. So that's how you would work out the selling price, that method. But there is another way of doing it, and the other way of doing it is obviously quicker if you go straight there. So to work it out straight away, what you can do is you can take the cost price. So we're going to take the 600, and we're going to multiply by the total percentage that includes the markup as well for the selling price. So the selling price is the cost price plus the 20%. So if the cost price starts at 100%, so we're going to be taking the 100% for the cost price plus the 20%. So that is 120%. Now, if you write 120% as a decimal, it gives you 1.2. So that's going to be 600 multiplied by 1.2. So now, if I take that and I work it out, 600 times 1.2 gives me 720, the same as what I got over here. So you can go straight to the answer by working it out that way. Okay, but if you want to, you can still work it out separately. Right, question C. A product is being sold for 350 Rand. If it originally cost the seller 250 Rand, what was the markup percentage? I'm going to give you 30 seconds for this question as well. Okay, so let's go through that question and see what you should have got. So first of all, for this question, in order to work out what the markup percentage is, you need to know what the markup is. So to work out the markup, we have to take the selling price and the cost price and subtract them to see what the difference is, because that's how much it was marked up by. So it's going to be 350 minus the 250, and that gives us a 100 Rand markup. So that's how much the seller increased the price by when they were going to sell the product. Now we need to work out what percentage that is. So the percentage, we're going to work it out, is 100 out of what the original price was, because remember it was worked out as a percentage of the original price, which is the cost price. So it's going to be 100 out of 250. And then we multiply that by 100 to get a percentage. So it's going to be 100 divided by 250 times 100 to get a percentage, and that gives you 40%. So the markup percentage for this product was 40%. Okay, now let's go on to budgets. A budget is a plan about how you will spend and save your money. Okay, so you'll draw up a budget so that you will be able to make sure you use your money wisely. A business also draws up a budget, and you can be asked questions in a number of different ways about a budget. You can be told you're going to be spending this percentage of the budget on something, and they can ask you how much that is. But all of the questions will be using concepts that you should already be familiar with in terms of working with percentages and so on from the things we've already done. Okay, let's just have a look at one example of a budget question. So in this question, it says Andiswa has a part-time job and earns 1,500 Rand a month. She draws up the following budget. So in this budget, she plans that she's going to spend 120 Rand on data, 80 Rand on transport, 150 Rand on snacks, 500 Rand on clothes, 200 Rand on entertainment, and then she will save the rest. So now we need to work out what percentage of her earnings she will save if she sticks to her budget. Okay, so let's have a look at how we would do this question. So the first thing that we need to do for this question is we need to work out how much money she will save in order to be able to work that out as a percentage. Okay, so for this question, the first thing we're going to do is take that 1,500, which is the total amount of money that she is earning, and subtract everything that she has budgeted to spend on certain things. So she's budgeted to spend 120 Rand on data. She's also planning on spending 80 Rand on transport and 150 Rand on snacks, 500 Rand on clothes, and 200 Rand on entertainment. Okay, so now we can work all of that out. And that gives us 450 Rand. So now we know how much money she's left with. So that is how much money she plans on saving. So now we're going to work that out as a percentage of the original amount of money that she started with. So it's 450 out of her total earnings, which is 1,500. And we multiply that by 100 to get a percentage. So 450 divided by 1,500 times 100 gives us 30%. So that means that she is planning on saving 30% of her total income. So if she sticks to her budget, that's how much she will save as a percentage. Okay, next thing we're going to go on to is accounts. When you are using services from a service provider, you need to open an account. So like if you're using an email service, then you need to open an account with them. If you go to a doctor, then they will open an account for you as well. So any service provider that you are using the services of, you are going to need to open an account with them. Okay. If the services you are using involve money, you will be issued with a statement for your account. Statements are generally issued monthly when necessary and inform you about your financial standing with the service provider. It tells you whether you owe them money, or in the case of a bank or a similar sort of institution where you may be keeping money with them, it'll tell you how much money they may be keeping for you. Okay. So here's an example of an account statement that you might receive. Okay, so in this particular case, this is a statement for a doctor or a dentist or something like that, and they've got the different in the beginning over here. You've got the balance which has been brought forward from the previous month and the fact that it was settled over there, and then you've got a new consultation fee with the VAT and the total amount over there, and another consultation fee on another date, and a total that all comes to over here. So this is the amount that you are owing to the service provider at the end of this month, and they tell you that it is due by the 1st of April. Okay, so this is just an example of a statement of account that you could receive from a service provider. Now, statements will not necessarily always look the same, but this is just a general idea of what a statement could look like, and just showing you what you could expect, that it tells you how much you owe or when it needs to be paid and so on. Okay. Also, just so you're aware, when you have an account with a service provider, generally they will have some kind of penalty if you don't pay by the due date. So you could end up having interest being charged, or they might suspend your account so that you no longer have access to the services and so on, like that. Okay, right, now let's go on to exchange rates. The exchange rate is the amount of one country's currency that is needed to buy 1 unit of another country's currency. Okay, so for example, if the Rand-dollar exchange rate is quoted as 1 USD or 1 US dollar is equal to 16.6237 South African rands, then this means that for every US dollar that something costs, we would need to pay 16 Rand.6237. Okay, so that is how much we would end up having to pay based on that particular exchange rate. Okay, so now let's go on to an example where we're going to be working with exchange rates. In this example, Tandeka exchanged 12,000 Rand to GBP, that's British pounds, at an exchange rate of 1 GBP equals 21.462 ZAR, which is South African rands, in preparation for a trip to England. While there, she spent £513.65. When she got back home, the exchange rate was 1 GBP equals 22.034 ZAR. How much did she get when she converted the leftover money back to ZAR or South African rands? Okay, so let's see how we would work this one out. So first of all, for this question, we need to convert the original amount of money that she converted from rands into pounds. Okay, so we have 12,000 and we need to convert that to pounds. So if you look at the exchange rates, I'm going to just write it here. So we've got 1 GBP equals 21.462 ZAR. Okay, so just like what we were doing earlier, when you're doing something like this, you can work with the concept of dividing by what you have and multiplying by what you want. So in this case over here, the 12,000 is in rands. So we divide by what we have. So look at the exchange rate. We have rands. So we're going to be dividing by the part of the exchange rate that is rands. So we're going to divide by 21.462. So divide there by 21,462, and then we're going to multiply by what we want, which is the 1. Now when you multiply by 1, it doesn't actually make any difference, so I don't need to write that times 1. You can if you want, but you don't need to. Okay, so now we're dividing 12,000 by 21.462, and that gives us 559 rand, or 559 pounds 0.13. Okay, so I'm just going to write GBP. If you're not sure of what a symbol is, you can just write it like that. Okay, you can write the actual symbol if you want to, which would be like this, or you can just write GBP. Okay, so once you have done that, so I'm just going to cross that out. Once you've done that, you now need to go and continue with the next part of the question. It says, while she was in England, she spent 513.65 pounds. Okay, so I'm going to take what she has over here, the 559.13, and subtract the amount that she spent, which is 513.65. And that gives us, so we have 559.13 minus 513.65 gives us 45.48. So that's how much she has left. And then once you've done that, after she had spent that, then she goes back to South Africa again and she exchanges what she's left with back to South African rands. So to work out how much she ends up with, when she converts it back, we have to use the new exchange rate that they've given us because the exchange rate fluctuates. So when she got back, the exchange rate had changed. So now we're going to be using the new exchange rate, which is 1 GBP equals 22,034 ZAR. Okay, so that's the new exchange rate that we're going to be using. So we're going to take the amount of money that she has left, which is 45.48. And now we're going to do the same thing as we did over there, divide by what we have, multiply by what we want. But in this case, this amount is in GBP, it's in British pounds. So we're dividing by the 1. Now you don't need to write divide by 1 because it doesn't do anything. Okay, if you want to, you can write there divide by 1, but it's not necessary. So we divide by 1, which doesn't do anything, and then multiply by what we want, which is the 22.034. So then our times by 22.034. So that gives me 45.48 times 22.034, and that gives me 1002.11 if I round that off to 2 decimal places. Remember, when you're working with money, you always round off to 2 decimal places. So that's going to be 1002.11 rand. And that's how much she would end up with when she converts it back after she gets back from England. Okay, right, so now you're going to do a couple of questions for yourself. Here's the first one you're going to do. Question A, if 1 AUD, that's Australian dollar, if 1 AUD is equal to 11.78 ZAR, how many Australian dollars would you get for 10,000 Rand? Okay, so I'm going to give you 30 seconds to work this one out. Okay, so let's go through that question. So over here, we have got a total amount of money that we're working with is 10,000 Rand. And we need to convert this to Australian dollars using the exchange rate 1 AUD equals 11.78 ZAR. Okay, so the amount of money we've got is in rands. So remember, we divide by what we have and multiply by what we want. So we have rands, so we're going to be dividing by the rands part of the exchange rate. So it's 11.78. So I divide by 11.78, and then I multiply by 1. But remember, multiplying by 1 doesn't do anything, so I don't need to write that. Okay, so So now it's 10,000 divided by 11.78, and that gives us 848.896, which rounds up to 90. Okay, so that's 848.90 AUD. Okay, so that we should have got for question A. Right, now let's go on to question B. A pair of sunglasses costs $545. How much would it cost in South African rands if the exchange rate is 1 USD equals 17.823 ZAR? I'm going to give you 30 seconds for this question as well. Okay, so let's go through that question quickly. So here we're starting with $545. Okay, now the exchange rate is 1 USD equals 17.823 ZAR. Okay, so now if we're working from dollars to rands, we divide by what we have, which is the dollar amount. So if I divide by 1, it doesn't do anything, so I don't need to write that. So I can skip that and go on to multiplying by what I want, which is the 17.823. So I take 545 and multiply by 17.823. So 545 times 17.823, and that gives us 9713. So that's in rands, comma 54. So we end up with 9,713 Rand and 54 cents when we convert $545 at that exchange rate. Okay, then the last question for today, question C. If 1 ZAR is equal to 0.056 USD, how many South African rands will you need to get $120? Okay, so I'm going to give you 30 seconds for this question as well. Okay, so let's go through that last question. So over here we've got our exchange rate. 1 ZAR equals 0.056 USD. So that's 1 South African Rand is equal to 0.056 US dollars. Okay, now this exchange rate has been given to you the opposite way around to what you would normally get. You would normally be told what 1 US dollar is equal to in rands. It's been given to you the other way around. But it doesn't matter because we're still going to do it in the exact same way as normal. So we are being asked to work out how many rands we would need to get $120. So we're working from the dollars because we need to work out what $120 is in rands. So it's 120. That is the dollar amount. So I'm dividing by what I have, which is the USD amount, the dollar amount. So I'm dividing by this 0.056. And then I multiply by what I want, which is the South African Rands amount, which I don't need to worry about because it doesn't do anything when you multiply by 1. Okay, so 120 divided by 0.056. And that gives us 2,142 Rand and 86 cents if I round that up. So that's what you should have got for that question. Okay, so that was just a brief overview of some of the concepts that you should already know from your grade 8 financial maths. Now that we've learned the concepts in this lesson, it's important to practice, practice, practice. If you haven't already got the worksheet that goes with this video, you can find it by clicking on the link in the description below. The worksheet comes with an extra exercise full of questions for you to work on to master the concepts covered in this lesson. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. so that others can benefit from it too. Also, be sure to subscribe so that you can easily find my other lessons, and hit the bell so that you will get notified about lessons as I upload them.